Welcome to Beyond Neutral. I'm your host, Paula Reed. I think of the journey of life as a road that we're driving down. We get to speed up on the straightaways, ease back on the curves, and I don't know about you, but I've certainly had the obstacle in the roadway that I never expected to see, and I had to either slam my brakes on or swerve to avoid hitting it. But whether we're talking about our careers or relationships or even just managing through life's phases, life is all about shifting and moving from one place to another. The challenge is that sometimes, in trying to get from where we were to where we want to be, we can get stuck while we're trying to shift. And we land in what I call the neutral space, where we're applying old ways of thinking to new situations. Join me and some incredibly inspiring guests as we talk about what it takes to shift into gear and get to where you want to be. Because here's the deal. If you're sitting in neutral, you're going nowhere. Welcome to today's episode of Beyond Neutral. I am your host, Paula Reed, and excited to talk to you today about what I think is a very timely topic, which is around major career transitions. And something that I feel like so many people are trying to go through or struggling with right now. And I say that because I'm talking to people regularly. And when I say major career transition, I don't mean moving up along the career path that you've kind of set out. I mean moving out of the career path that you've set out or changing the trajectory of that career path. That can be a really difficult challenge. If you caught my episode last week, I spoke with Mike Shirey, who made a major career transition about 3 years ago from being a president of a fashion company, fashion footwear brands, where, it's on 24/7. He described it as the hamster wheel. And we all understand the picture that creates in our mind. But he really talked about wanting to get a different value from his work. And I think a lot of people are really going through that and questioning that. Maybe coming out of COVID, I certainly think that, any major disruption like that obviously evokes a lot of introspection for people. And so really having a lot of conversations lately with people who are saying, I want to make a major shift. I want to do something different. I want work to mean something. And being lost about what that looks like or how you go about that. And Mike talked a lot about that in our episode. So certainly encourage you to go there and listen to that if you missed it. I want to really talk about some of the things that are helpful in thinking that through. Because what can happen is we get into this career track, okay? And we think of ourselves as that. We think of ourselves as a sales executive. We think of ourselves as a footwear executive, as a software engineer, as make the list. That's how that identity becomes us and can define how we think of the capacities that we have and the skills that we have and the place that we need to be. And that is a limiting belief. And it's limiting in the sense that the skills that we have and that we use in our jobs are just the places we apply our capacities. It's just the place we're able to utilize and practice and continue to develop skills that we have that we can apply and use in other places as well. The challenge is we get stuck in our heads in thinking that what we're capable of doing is defined by what we currently do or the lane that we're currently driving in, right? And that's not the case. So in wanting to make a major career transition, and by that, again, I mean stepping out of the lane you've been in, that industry that you've been in, that job definition that you've been in, call it what you want. The very first thing to do is think about the skills, not how you're applying them, but what it says about your capacity, okay? And I say that because let's say you're in a role in sales. We'll use sales as an example, okay? You have a skill of selling. A skill of selling, number one, includes a really strong ability to listen to the needs of a customer or of a client and to understand how you or your product or whatever can meet those needs. Okay. So those are listening skills and those are communicating skills. And you might be applying that right now in a particular industry, but there's plenty of places where strong listening skills and strong communicating skills and an ability to manage a process and an ability to walk people through a decision-making concept can be applied. They can be applied in a number of different areas. So think about the skills that you have in that situation. Think about the interpersonal skills that requires. Think about the influencing skills that requires. And really assess those and assess what you love about that, what you enjoy about that, and think about where the applications of that might apply in other areas. That's number one. The number two is recognize what you're really seeking out of your work. What is it that is driving you to really want to make this transition? Are you looking for different kind of intellectual stimulation? Are you looking to give back? Are you, is some type of philanthropic connection important to you? Are you looking to just apply yourself in a different way, find a new challenge? Are you looking to define your success differently? Whatever it is, okay? What is it that you're really seeking? What is the motivator in trying to make this change? Sometimes, and that's a really important exercise, because sometimes the motivator is you actually just don't like where you're doing what you're doing. And that's very different than not liking what you're doing or not enjoying what you're doing. Okay. So there's would you enjoy doing the same kind of function in a very different type of environment? That is different than, I don't want to do this function anymore. I want to apply myself in a very different way. I want to be challenged in a new way. Or I want to measure my impact in a different way. I want to impact different people. I want to impact a business differently. I want to impact a different kind of business. Those are three very significantly different motivators to make a change. And understanding that will absolutely help lead you to what is the right place for you. Okay. So that's number two. And number three, and the most important part of this, is what you're willing to let go of in order to get that satisfaction that you're looking for. And I say that because a lot of times I will enter into conversations with people who talk about the desire to do something incredibly different. Okay. And doing something different usually requires giving something up. It can be financial, it can be flexibility, it can be status. And when I say status, I mean both inside an organization, inside a macro industry, or inside the material benefits that you might get from being in the role that you're in. Because the reality is you get paid the most for the expertise in the lane that you're in, right? That's a reality, okay? And so when you start thinking about making this big shift because you're looking for the internal satisfaction that maybe you're not getting from your current role, and you really want that, and that's really a driver for you, and you've identified that that's what matters the most, then you also have to look at what you're willing to give up. What are you willing to sacrifice here in order to get the other things that you're looking for? And in the episode that I taped with Mike, he had a really interesting story, a funny story about going car shopping after he had made this transition, obviously, into a nonprofit, which by its nature doesn't pay the same as a for-profit role. And realizing that he was all excited about buying a Subaru instead of a BMW, and laughing about the fact that he and his wife had said, who would imagine that coming? we couldn't have seen the day when that would be exciting to us. But it was exciting to him and a kind of a moment of reflection for him around the context of all the other things he was getting as a result of this job, all the other values that this role was ticking for him and aligning with for him, that made the Subaru an absolutely awesome option for him. And so that's what I'm talking about when I say, what are you willing to let go of? And a lot of that comes to ego, right? A lot of that, and ego is not a bad thing, and none of this is about a judgment. This is all about what works for you, okay? And what needs to be aligned in order for you to get the satisfaction that you're looking for or the result that you're looking for from this major transition that you're believing you want to make. Believing you want to make it and living with the consequences of making it are two different things. And so going through this thought process of what are my skills? What do I really want to use? How do I apply them? And where is that useful from a big picture perspective, and really honing in on that and knowing what you're capable of delivering, okay, and what you're capable of accomplishing. Number two, recognizing what you're looking for. What are your motivators in doing this? What do you want work to give back from you? And then number three, what are you willing to give up in order to get that? Mike made a really interesting comment, and it was a small little thing that he said early on in our conversation, but I think it's reflective of sometimes what a lot of us say and don't necessarily align to. He said, family has always been very important to me, but I realized when he had gone through the pandemic and he was really home with his family, he realized the disconnect that kind of had existed for him for a while in terms of what it meant to family being important. Okay, what he had kind of given up by being on the hamster wheel versus what he had all of a sudden realized when he was no longer on that wheel and he was able to be home and really be spending quality time. He realized that was out of balance, and he wasn't willing to do that again. He was willing to give up other things before he really gave up that. It was a really small point that he made early on, but it's the kind of thing that, I've had challenges with clients on a regular basis of saying, well, family's really important to me. Okay, well, what does that mean? Does that mean that, and that can mean different things to different people. So you've got to define for yourself what that is. And does that mean that you're willing to give up certain, are you willing to give up driving a BMW in order to be able to be home more? Maybe, maybe not. Are you willing to give up, a job that pays at a very high level, and now you're going to make less, but you don't have to travel as much and you're home more? Are you willing to do that? Is that what family means to you? You got to make that decision. It's different for everybody. Because also family can mean being able to provide at the very highest level the best possible experiences that you want for your family. And that takes an income level that you're willing to sacrifice other things for. It doesn't matter what the answer is. What matters is that you are taking the time to truly align and value those in alignment for what the sacrifice is, or what you need to give up in order to get that. So those are the three things. Major career transitions require introspection and alignment of values, desires, and what you're willing to get to do them. So that's my thought for the day in our follow-up episode today for Beyond Neutral. What do you need to do? What are the things you need to think about in order to go from where you are now to where you want to get to? I hope you have a great day. Keep driving. Hey, thanks so much for joining us this week on Beyond Neutral. I'm your host, Paula Reed. Make sure to visit our website, www.readandco.com, for this week's show notes. And if you found value in today's episode, I would appreciate you giving us a rating on Apple Podcasts or share it with a friend. Also, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. All of this helps to support the show. Have a great week.